Okay, we are now live.
Okay, in that case,
Yay.
we'll go.
Hey everybody, we're here. We're ready. This thing gets all twisted up pretty good. Alright. Destiny says hello. Hi Destiny. Hi TV Movies. Hi Eddie. Welcome to our live show. Yay. And happy Ostara one and all, or fall equinox. Wherever you live, we have an equinox. Tanya says happy spring equinox. Yes. And the fall equinox for those below the equator. Dan says hello everyone. Hi Dan. Thank you for joining us. Haley says hello. Hi Haley. Everybody's getting used to coming in, which is awesome. We like it. Jonathan says hi friends. Hi Jonathan. Oh boy. So, how is everybody doing this week? Got any burning questions or experiences? Are you celebrating the equinox today? We're doing this. That's how we're celebrating today.
Well, hey, we do magical stuff all the time, constantly, so.
Yeah, this is true. It's one of those things. It's like, yep, it's another day. Things are changing. Thank goodness the sun is coming back. Please keep coming. Actually, it's supposed to get a warm day in a few days. Tuesday, you said?
Yeah, I think it was Tuesday. It looked like it might
Joey
be
said
close to 70.
Joey says hi, Siofra and Ian. Hi, Joey. Yeah, so it'll be nice. Then maybe we can go outside and start weeding.
Well, needs to be done. We'll get it done again good this year, and
Yep. Well, it gets easier every year.
yeah,
So
it's in better shape.
And maybe we can have some fresh sorrel. I wish I liked lemony things better. Because it's very lemony.
What is that?
Sorrel.
Sorrel.
Yeah. Jonathan says Maybon. Yes, that's what it's called down your way. Eddie says, loved your story about Whale Woman in your most recent video. Thank you. It was a pretty incredible experience to meet her. And I thought I hadn't shared that, so I thought that it would be a good time. It was certainly an interesting experience, and she definitely had the natives in the area like confused, startled, and amazed. So that was kind of entertaining in and of itself. Violet says hello. Hi Violet. Moonfire says hello family. I loved your stories yesterday. I have had whale dreams for years. Yes, I've been watching some of the whale shows on Disney, I think. It's got a lot of the shows about whales and things. I just watched one this morning on the blue whale, which is always fascinating to hear more about them and stuff. Tanya says, I am ready for the warmer weather. I have been chilled to the bones, so a good thaw sounds great. Love sorrel, growing some this year. Well, this is a wild version. I'm not sure if it's the same. It's like a little thing that people think of as a weed, but it's edible, so it makes a good spring tonic. Gary says, hello, happy spring equinox to you both and everyone here, Loretta and Gary. Hi, guys. Yeah, it's nice to start to get a shift in the weather. And surprising, everybody in Washington decided they don't like changing the clocks, so that was quite amazing. They all agreed on one thing. Dublin says, at Siofra, hello. Hi, Dublin. It's like the only thing they can agree on, apparently, is that nobody likes to have to turn these clocks back and forth all the time.
Well, I wish they'd just stop it.
That's what they're proposing, to just stop it. So hopefully this time it'll actually go through. They keep threatening to do that.
I've been waiting for it for years.
I know. We have been waiting for it for years. They get our hopes up, and then they go like, well, not this year, so yeah, let's do that winter thing again. We're like, ah. My body's really having a hard time adapting this year to this. It's really weird. Usually I adapt better. Dublin says, tired of switching clocks. Yep. But this year it's like, I get up at 8 a.m. and it's like, I can't get my body adjusted to going.
My little satellite clock, the little battery one, that worked perfect.
For telling you what time it was?
Well, yeah, it set itself.
It set itself
automatically, just without problem, and that's kind of nice. But yours never did that.
Well, mine at my office did. It did it a day ahead. I was in there on Saturday, and the clocks had already changed time.
Yeah.
So Destiny says, I would really enjoy that.
And for Jonathan, I'm going to show your message, but let's watch the profanity because I'm having to sense or check it before I show.
Well, it's like shoes on the other foot here. And it's one of those things. It's like, I thought it was a great story. I thoroughly enjoyed having the shoe on the other foot. But, if it's a real goddess, I mean, seems like a lame thing for a dude not to be wanting to be into. But hey, I agree, everyone should be able to say no. But still, compared to all the other Zeus stories about female humans and all this other stuff, this is, at least for me, a breath of fresh air. And interesting, because the Celtic goddesses are in your face and not shy about what they think, which is very different from a lot of the other mythologies that are out there. They water down the goddess a lot in most other places. But, yeah, it's like these things aren't necessarily to be considered literal, but
yeah, well, that's one way to distinguish between different aspects is the individuality between different gods and goddesses and things, and they all have human characteristics because otherwise we couldn't judge them or describe them. So
yep, but it was just it's an interesting difference in how they approach it, because generally speaking they kind of depowered most of the goddess stories throughout most of the myths.
Yeah.
So Moonfire Dawn says, I have bipolar and cyclic rhythm therapy is important. Time change hurts. Yeah.
I agree. My body rhythms just don't like it.
Tanya says, Congress approved the stopping of the time change. Just need House and Biden to sign off. I already have sleeping issues. Don't need folks messing with my clock. Yeah, I mean, they have discovered through study and stuff like that the time change actually harms us physically as well as emotionally. I mean, it's when you get your rhythm set, you don't really need to suddenly go boom. And I can't take the melatonin to reset my rhythms because that would be really terrible. Dreams are interesting enough right now without that added to it. Dublin says nobody pays attention to time anymore. What's the point? I know I have to watch my cussin' Irish mouth too. Jonathan said, thank you, Ian. Aaron says, hello, happy first day of spring. Hi, Aaron. Adam says, hey, Siofra and Ian. Whoa, what's the blue headgear that you're wearing? It's a silk scarf, and I'm having difficulty right now with what's going on the planet. My empathic abilities are sort of out of control. I had to use a special stone that's charged up to block pretty much everything in order to be able to sleep last night. And silk helps to dampen the energy field. And I figured I would dress in the Ukrainian flag colors today, so it seemed to be a perfect opportunity to do so. I had to work to find blue and gold things in my closet, so that's what I did. So Angela says, hi there, all blessings to Siofra in chat. Hi, Angela. Dublin says that Siofra, yep. Jonathan says, very interesting stories. Whale Lady and Oregon stuff. Siofra, it's just better in your voice. Well, thank you. Maybe I put people to sleep, whatever. Adam says, laugh out loud. Joy says, I like it. Well, good. It's always nice to have people like what you're wearing since I can't do anything about it. Because we are here now. Oh, and Mixed Diva says, hello all. Hi, Mixed Diva. Didn't mean to almost miss you there. So, yeah, it's just interesting. Those are the first ones that I came across that actually had a different feel to them. So Merlin Stone kind of started the ball rolling on that, which was great that she did the research and found some of the stories and everything. Moonfire Dawn said, I noticed you about cried while reading. I am emotional too. I love the scarf. Thank you. Dublin says, Siofra, interesting that you have been having storm dreams as well as myself. It's the state of the world, in my opinion. Well, yeah, that, and then the last set of dreams I had was clearly about Ukraine. I just had that one a few days ago, and I looked out my window, and the entire street was just covered in sunflowers, so that I knew that it was about Ukraine. And I thought, oh, this looks good. And then I went to get everybody to show them the sunflowers, and then when they got there, they were all gone. And then I'm like, what happened to them? Where did they go? And then I discovered that there was a funeral that had been planned, and the sunflowers were for the funeral. So I have no clue what that means, except that I was upset and I woke up crying. So, yeah, it's a very emotional time. Angela said, hugs. What's Merlin Stone? The name of the author. This is a book. She was one of the first ones who wrote stuff from a women's point of view, because all of history had been male-oriented until then. And so this is her book. And I covered this one in the video I did about books. And she did some other stuff. I think that she might also be the one who did When God Was a Woman, which was a really difficult read. I was yelling and screaming a lot reading that. So who knows for sure exactly how accurate everything was, but it certainly was transformative and opening up of doors and that kind of thing. So Adam says, hey Siofra, can you clarify something? Are spirit guides assigned to a person by a higher authority, or they just simply take their own interest in a person's welfare and there is no assignment basis? Well, it seems that it runs in families. Like some families have got guardian angels, some families have got ancestor spirits. So I really don't know if it's a family thing. So it just depends on what line you're born into as to which way you're going to get it. But everyone has a higher guardian angel of some type. I mean, it's sort of almost like your oversoul, or the part of you that remembers things that is there, and some people can access that better than others.
Another name, people call it your higher self.
Right.
I'm not sure Crowley called it your guardian angel, but I'm not sure that the two things are the same thing. I think they're two different aspects. But Barden says that you do have one that's assigned to you for your assistance, and I assume by whatever higher authority.
Yeah, I don't know. I had two angels when that I've continued to see throughout my life, so they're still here. And then I had Moida, who was like my higher self guardian thing. And she was always there as well, so they've been around since I was born. I did get some nice fairy smells last night after I had to get the rock out. And oh yeah, and that nice little stone rolled out from under my pillow and got underneath my hip bone and woke me up. So I put it back on the big amethyst I have next to on my nightstand. So that was kind of entertaining as well, but yeah. But then the smell came, and it was a very complex smell. This one was more complex than the usual lavender kind of smell. It was like there were other notes of other scents in there. So it was like, wow, this is spring. The smell of spring or something. So Robin says, hi, I was just watching your Whale Woman video. That story sounds familiar. Well, were you there? I mean, I met the woman in person. I don't know if there's any books. I tried to do an internet search and couldn't find anything about her on the internet. Um, so, so that was kind of disappointing because I thought that she would be there. And she studied with that guy, Storm, the one who does the Seven
Right.
Arrows book, whose name I can never pronounce.
Starts with an H and is
Right.
long, a very long first name.
Right. He was her instructor at the time that I met her. She was studying with him and, getting her shamanistic type or medicine woman studies in. So I don't know. It'd be interesting if you could remember where you heard it, because, like I said, it was an experience, a direct encounter with her at the Medicine Wheel weekend ceremonies that started in like the early 80s or the late 70s. And I went to 4 of them in a row. And each year there was something slightly different. She was there the first year, and I think she was also there the second year. So I met some interesting people during that. Dublin says, very upsetting, yes. And Mixed Diva says, very hard times indeed, yes. Angela says, oh wow. Yeah, it was kind of intense. Moonfire says, our will against the will of the Armageddon horse. Yeah.
That was another one I had to let through, by
Yeah.
the way.
Apparently they don't like the word horror.
Apparently not.
Yeah. Well, but they have that horror of Babylon kind of a thing.
Well, they can't take into account the context of the words.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
So Jonathan says, very well done choosing a video sponsor you gelled with. Much respect. And glory to Ukraine. It's horrific what normal lives can become. It is. It's just unbelievable, and the loss of culture and history, and they're doing what they can to try and preserve it. They're putting barricades around churches that were built in the 1300s, and yeah, it's just a sad thing. TV Movie says, can you tell us about elemental essence? I've been researching about it, but everyone says different things. Some say it's intelligent force, some say half intelligent, etc. What's your opinion? If you're meeting an elemental, like, in the wild, as it were, they definitely have their own intelligence, but they're very focused on their particular realm and whatever their job happens to be. So I'd say yes, it's an intelligent force, but it is sort of a precise intelligence.
It's very
limited, narrow.
Yeah, conscribed, or yeah, it'll, like if you contacted one of the sylphs, for example, they'd be able to tell you anything about the air and how storms move and travel and things like that, but they wouldn't be able to tell you how to start a fire using magic or something,
or
like
how to
that.
swim.
Yeah,
they might help with sailing.
If they're air, they do air. If they're water, they do water, and that's
Yeah.
basically it. Yeah.
So it depends on your definition of intelligent. I mean, if the definition of intelligent means that you have like a ability to understand a wide variety of subjects and can like hold your own on any topic, then that would not fit an elemental.
But then,
But on their topic, they would be highly intelligent and very informative if you can get in touch with them.
yeah, elemental essence. Does that mean if you're talking the actual element itself, fire is just fire. It has expansion and movement, and that corresponds to heat in the body and things like that. But the substance itself has no intelligence on its own if you're talking the basic elemental substance, but it can be manipulated by us.
Unless you're thinking about like Gaia, as in there is some kind of consciousness in every atom.
Well, yeah, but that's
throughout the universe, but that again is a whole different subject.
That's looking at it from an entirely different plane. I mean,
yeah,
not a practical.
But that's what we've got at the moment.
Yeah.
Gary says, yes, me too. I feel like something's off. I hope this spring is a good one. Dublin says, at Moonfire, spiritual war, yeah? Eddie Adams says, recently been seeing small figures of colored light quickly passed by. A few days ago, a witchy friend saw one in my room behind me and described what I have been seeing to a T. Any ideas what they are? Well, they could be small fae or other types of spirit, nature spirits of some kind.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
Without being there. I mean, we've seen some small ones, we've seen some bigger ones. Robin says, I'll visit your Etsy shop. Great! I just finished some wands I'm going to get up on there. So give me a day to get my wands up. Made this really nice amethyst one that I'm almost reluctant to sell because I really like it a lot, but I'm going to put it up there. So there'll be some new stuff. Adam says, higher self guardian. Whoops, my finger went. Can you explain that? Are you saying there is a specific spirit that guards one's higher self? No, it's your higher self. It's like, okay.
You're not in contact with your higher self at all times.
So, let's say reincarnation. String of pearls. Each pearl is a life. Clasp that goes around it. Higher guardian that connects all of them together and knows more about what's going on than like the individual pearls. Be one way to describe it. There's the part of you that is like everything that's happened, since there is no actual time, so it's like, confusing. But again, these are human concepts to try and explain things, and you have to remember that whenever you're looking for definitions, the words that we use may not mean the same thing to us as they mean to you, and the idea is to try and grasp what the subject we're talking about means to you. And it's not like math where you can have a single formula and everyone can like see the formula and come up with the same answer. It's not like that. Life is messy. It's not
more like a piece of art.
Yeah, more like a piece of art. So Bep Kororoti. Storm Dreams here also 2 days ago. Yeah. Emmy says, I'm late, but I'm here. Happy Ostara. Hi, Emmy. Thank you for joining us. And Dublin says, at Bep. And at Siofra, what's your hubby's name? Ian? It's so without the E. I-A-N. Emmy Love says, what's going on in Ukraine is awful, but just a reminder that the U.S. weapons provided to Saudi Arabia are still creating the largest humanitarian crisis on the globe in Yemen. Their refugees aren't being taken by other countries the way Ukrainians are, so they have to be smuggled. It's just not a good scene anywhere.
No.
Life is hard. Dublin says that Emmy, the U.S. isn't innocent by any means. Right. But just because we're not innocent doesn't mean what's going on is not wrong. The comparison between ills is a pointless comparison because what we need to do is fix the ills we can find and then get rid of them, including our own, in my opinion. Robin says, when I lived in New Jersey, there was a girl who went way out on a float and the Coast Guard had to get her. This was either the 60s or 80s, I remember, because the Coast Guard had to get me when I was 6. Well, maybe you were there because it did happen on the East Coast. And that's what she said. She was in the harbor and the 9 pilot whale surfaced around her and took her out to sea, and the Coast Guard was involved in trying to rescue her. Even though she wasn't at all afraid and she never felt like she was in any danger, the Coast Guard didn't know that, and neither did her parents. So that's interesting. If you happened to be there, I would think it must have been in the 60s because, I mean, when I met her, she was full grown. And she said she was 9 when it happened, so interesting. Emmy Love says a lot of people just don't even realize that Yemen is even happening, mostly because it's darker people, as shown in the white, blonde hair, blue-eyed Christian descriptors for these refugees. Prejudice is everywhere. Lod says, hi, Siofra and Ian. Really pleased to be here for your live chat. Hi, Lod. Thank you for joining us. Destiny says, I didn't know you had an Etsy. What is the name of your shop? Siofra's Magic Alcove. I'm trying to keep it simple. Everything is called Siofra's Magic Alcove, except my Facebook page, which is Siofra Bradigan. So, but I even have a Siofra's Magic Alcove business page on my Facebook. So, yeah. And my email is shifersmagicalcove@gmail.com. So if you can remember any of that, you can probably find me. And it's in the description. I put it in there. So Ian says, welcome at Lod. Moonfire says, I want a wand when I get moved. Cool. Jonathan says, this is not a political channel. I think it would be wise of us to keep it that way. But I'm very glad Kali is sitting on a red brick in Shifer's garden. I can't envision a higher witchcraft. Yeah, I was having a chat with her the other day. She's going to stay there till something happens. Emmy says, sorry, my bad. That was my one gimme just to bring awareness to all humanitarian issues. And I agree. I mean, there are a lot of issues. The thing to remember is we have to deal with the ones that we actually have some kind of say or control over. And so, what's going on in our backyard, our neighborhood, unless we're in government, in which case we have a wider say and a wider influence, and so forth. So, Jacqueline says, hello, Shifer and Ian. Hi, Jacqueline. Glad to see you here. Adam says, what are the other types of beings that coexist with elemental beings upon encounter, and how do they interact with each other and why? How do they mutually aid each other in their sphere of influence? I really don't know what you're getting to and what you're talking about. Everything exists together. So you've got your elementals, you've got your nature spirits, you've got your higher fae, you've got your guardian angels, you've got your regular angels, you've got your...
It may help if I point out that the elementals live in their element. So if you contact an elemental, you wouldn't just go like anywhere. If you contact it like an air elemental, you want to go someplace airy or like, imaginatively in the air. Or, if you want to visit an earth elemental, you can sink down into the earth and see the elementals that way, but they live in their element in the case of the elementals. So if you go directly into the fire element, then you could find some fire elementals.
Yeah, fire walking. You'd definitely be in contact with some fire elements.
But yeah, generally elementals stick to the elements, so they don't really encounter other beings as much.
But there's other things that are in them. Like there's a lot of different spirits that travel through the air and are in the water and so forth that aren't elemental. I mean...
But birds have an airy quality.
Well, right, but I was thinking of spirit beings, not animals.
I know. I was just...
But yes.
But the elementals... you probably won't find unless you go directly to there, except for the one sylph we found in the park.
Well, that was in the air.
Yeah, that was...
It was outside in the air. Definitely was a sylph.
True.
I mean, anywhere there's air, you can potentially find a sylph. They're just really hard to sense. Yeah. That was unusual. That was pretty cool.
That was unusual for me to sense one like that, yeah.
So Robin says, Stone Harbor, I'll bet. We went crabbing there. Well, that's just awesome. Talk about a synchronicity. I mean, I don't think I've met anyone who had any idea about her origin story, except for me, because I was there. I mean, there were other people there, but that's awesome. Whoops, I went the wrong way. Dublin says, keep it simple, stupid. Destiny says, oh, perfect. Chill Baby says, I love your headscarf. I, too, like to wrap my head in creative ways when I feel the urge. It really helps with the psychic stuff. I had to do this after 9/11 a lot, so... This one's not as bad because it's farther away, but it's still not good either. Someone says, I'm not trying to be political, but there is crap going on. Well, yeah, there is crap going on. There's always crap going on. Life is like that. But specific crap? I don't know. I know astrologically, apparently, there's a lot of influences that may be antithetical to things turning out peacefully at the moment, and then they will change, and hopefully people will get a brain and it will stop.
Well, I think all Jonathan was saying was we don't want to go too far on that conversation with political stuff.
This is true, because everyone's got their own view and opinion.
It is a reality, for
and
sure.
This is about magic, and what can we do about it with magic, maybe. Joy says, I was browsing at my local rock shop and they just got in a shipment of Hagstones, so I was the first to buy one. So pleased. Now, what's best to do with it? Well, the different stories about Hagstones, it's like a natural hole in a stone represents the goddess. You can see other kingdoms by looking through the hole. So the idea is that if you gaze through the hole of the stone, you might be able to see the fairy people. That's about all I have with that, really, except that they're supposed to be really cool to have, and I have one. A friend of mine found, it's on my staff, and it's actually a granite hagstone, which is pretty unusual because usually they're the softer stones that end up with a hole in them, like sandstone of some kind. But she picked it up and gave it to me. She was down in Mexico. She found it down there.
It's a natural hole in it, right?
It's a natural hole in it. Yeah, I do have another stone with a hole in it, but I think it's probably drilled. It's a piece of jasper, bloodstone.
Right.
But I liked the idea because the bloodstone represents the goddess, her menses, and all that stuff. Although for the Christians, it represents the blood of Jesus. But before that, it represented the blood of women. And so I put that on there as well, just to, give it some company. Gary says, I have heard that sunflowers represent strength and good medicine and food. Good dream, says Loretta. Well, yeah, I hope so. Robin says, elementals and the elements are not the same thing, if that helps. Yeah. Because the elements, they're just always, they're not the same thing. I have no argument with that. Jonathan says, if you ever want to do anything with Jupiter, do it now. Make a talisman. A talisman can be the Jupiter symbol on a piece of paper. Next chance this good is in 12 years' time.
We actually put one together that can only be made every
26 years.
26 years or something like that.
It happened when we came across the information. It happened to be within 4 months of when we found it. So we had time to get ready. Or like, oh, this is it. Let's do this. So that was kind of cool.
Take it out and recharge it.
Yeah, be a good time then. Amy Love says that Jonathan, thank you. Dublin says that Jonathan, thumbs up. Mixed Diva says, what's that? A talisman? We'll have to wait for more information. Jonathan says, I'm planning mine for the 27th of April. By May, the chance is gone. Mixed Diva says, I just went to the river and got some crystals this morning. Cool. I love getting stuff from the river. There's a lot of agates around our area. In some places they have some garnets too, and of course sunstone and so forth is also our state gem, rock,
Stone, yeah.
or whatever is the sunstone. Shay says, hello all, happy vernal equinox here in the northern hemisphere and autumnal equinox in the south. Hi Shay. Dublin says, at Siofra, what is the difference between a fairy and a pixie? Well, a pixie is a type of fairy. A fairy is sort of a generic term for all of the folk, nature spirits and so forth. The she is kind of like a separate category of fairy. So they're like human-sized and sort of more in charge of things.
Yeah, the pixie that I saw once, the fire pixie, I've only seen one once, but it was all of maybe 2 inches long, like a very small person.
With left little trails of fire.
Yes. Had nice fairy wings.
And nice little fairy wings. Were they more like the dragonfly type? Those are the ones that I saw when I was in Santa Cruz. I saw first the dragonfly type. There were about a dozen or so of them. And when they moved, they left little streamers of like sparkles.
Well, that's how this was. It left little streamers and kind of left a pattern that hung in the air for a bit, or in my mind, because we don't want to try and be too literal,
And then the bigger one came in with the butterfly wings, and she was about twice the size of the smaller ones. And she was herding them out the door. It's like, come around, Apparently I attract them to they're attracted to my energy, so. So Adam says, headgear, not headscarf. Lod says, had an interesting thing happen a few days ago and wondered what you think about it. I was left a little gift in my garden. I'll have to post this in 2 goes as it won't send. Yeah, they got that limitation. Dublin says, at Siofra, I like river rocks also. Emmy Love says, I found like a 10 in Orthoceras for $10 at an antique shop in town on Friday. Kind of thinking about making it into the head of the staff. Think pretty spear by the shape, though. Okay. Well, whatever seems right, that's the right thing to put on there. Ian's got a crystal with a point, and I have an amber ball on the top of mine. Angela says, I saw my first Fae last night. It was a white small person with little white wings, dragonfly shaped. It flew toward my fan and then left my field of vision. I simply said, hi, you can stay if you want, and went to my desk. Cool. Mixed Diva says, sounds like pixie dust. Yeah, it's just sparkle little thingies. It's pretty cute. Bod says a small round shiny foil paper disc was folded and poked into the soil where I had just sown some seeds. It wasn't there before. Could it be a gift from the Fae? Yes, it could definitely be a gift from the Fae. That's one of the things they like to do. And right, in our current climate about the fairies, which we're trying to change that conversation, people are afraid to accept gifts from the fairies because then they owe them something. But in my experience, that's not true. That means that they appreciate you and they like you, and they're showing you their appreciation. So I guess it depends on our own point of view and how we choose to look at that kind of stuff. Jonathan says, for anyone interested, Jupiter is in stellium in Pisces right now. It's very special astrology. Oh, it's very special. Astrology sucks so much. Dublin says that Siofra, are they fake or mischievous? I don't think they're fake. They can be mischievous because, they like to play. It depends on your definition of mischievous. I mean, if you're watching some otters flying down a stream and jumping around and playing with each other, that could be mischievous or play. I mean, it all depends. And certainly animals are good at play, and who knows, they're maybe playing not just with the air, but with each other and with other things that we can't see. Like I saw some ravens playing in the snow in a clip where they were actually rolling. They were doing like a tumble and rolling in the snow and then doing all this stuff. It was pretty awesome. So Tanya says, another thought about you dreaming of sunflowers. I garden and learned that sunflowers are able to take up heavy metals from contaminated soil. Oh, that's good. But I'm pretty confident that the dream was about Ukraine because the sunflowers right now are everywhere about that. Andy says, hello, Siofra. I was curious to see what you guys think of the OTO. Hope you're both doing well.
Well, that's a
loaded question?
Well, it's
a long answer?
Potentially a long answer. Depends on what you want to know about it. I was in the OTO for a number of years.
In fact, he was in it when we met.
I no longer am because I chose not to be. Because I found out that wasn't my true will after all. Let's see if I can come up with something just to sum it up real quick. The OTO, Thalemic Order. The OTO first is a version of esoteric masonry, and the first degrees are all aligned along those lines. The second degree, the second order, meaning the fifth degree on, would be like a Rosicrucian type of thing, more or less. The OTO is set up for people who are real serious about magic and who take it seriously and want to be serious about it. Notwithstanding, there's always a few people who go off the deep end and such at the beginning, the early degrees in the order before they've gotten weeded out. There are ordeals and things that weed out people. I thought it was very useful. I'm glad I was in it. I'm also glad I didn't go any further in it because it was clear that that was the end of my pathway along the OTO, but it's very useful and serious, very serious about the magic and doing it right and everything. Like I say, it gets more serious as you go up degrees. Also, the degrees get more expensive. I suppose by the time you get to like the fifth degree, you're supposed to be able to be so good you can whip up whatever money you need to pay for it.
It's also Western Hermetic.
Yes. Yeah, Western Hermetics, it's not, it has similarities to the Golden Dawn, and largely because of Crowley's rewriting of some of the rituals and things in it. I consider myself a Thelemite, even though I don't make that a particular uh, point, because it's just being a, you know, that's a whole nother discussion. But so yeah, I don't think it's bad. I think it's, you got to target for the right people and know what you're getting into. And I have to admit, it was a little scary going through the initiations at first because of Crowley's big scary reputation, and some of them can be potentially a little bit dangerous. But basically, yeah, I wouldn't mess around with it unless you're serious about it. But if you're serious about it, you can get a lot out of the initiations and things. I did. I'm sure I would have got a lot more out of the 5th degree if I had taken that, but I didn't. But yeah, so I guess that's plenty to say on that for now.
So Dublin says, at Andy, thumbs up. Mixed Diva says that Jonathan, tell me more. Moondog Witch says, what is the difference between an elf and fae? An elf is a different kind of fae. I mean, fae would be like human. Okay? So all of us are human, but we're different sizes. And we're different colors and have different backgrounds. But we would all be human. We might have different names for our cultural differences and that kind of thing. So, the Fae is sort of like an overall term for all nature spirits, although some people disagree with that. That's my opinion. And that's certainly how I use it. So, Mary says, hello, Wishy family. Happy spring. Hi, Mary. I'm glad to join us. Robin says, at Samhain, we wanted an acorn for our altar and had none. When we went to bury our stuff, we dug up an acorn. We were concerned about using it, but we put it on the altar. Thought that was cool. That's really cool, I think.
Yep.
I like that kind of stuff. It's like, And Dublin said, thumbs up at me.
In harmony with the universe. That's right.
That's right. Chill Baby says, I was wondering, when people get personal tarot readings, what are they allowing the reader to access of their energy, their subconscious? Depending on the reader, I assume.
Depending a lot on the reader.
Yeah. I mean, if they're reading just the cards, then the idea is that the tarot itself will configure itself to give you whatever message it is that the universe thinks you need to hear, and then it's up to you to figure out the meaning of the message. Some readers are going to tap into your unconscious and interpret the cards more completely because of that. Generally speaking, if you're getting a tarot reading, you're offering them the opportunity to read you. That is kind of part of the whole point. So if you don't want them getting into your subconscious, don't go to a reader and do your own cards. Then you're in your subconscious and you can figure out what your subconscious has to say about it. And if it's their subconscious, who knows? And that's true too. I mean, projection is a huge thing. I had one of the massage therapists I traded with a lot. I really liked her. She was a good trading partner. But then she got into this phase where she kept trying to read me. And instead of reading me, she was actually reading herself, projecting herself into me, and then reading it back. We talked about that briefly last week, about mirroring. Because, I'm coming in this one particular time, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling together. I'm happy. I have no issues. She has me on the table, and she goes like, there is a deep, dark, black sadness in your heart. And I'm like, okay, if I go down far enough, I'm sure I can find it because of my history, but not really. And she kept doing that over and over again. I was getting kind of annoyed, and just before we stopped trading, I started thinking about the idea of bringing a mirror in with me to my sessions and hiding it under the covers. And then when she started doing that, whipping it out and say, really, you seriously need to deal with your own stuff because you aren't dealing with your stuff, so you're seeing it in me and it's not there. But that only works if you actually know yourself well. It's really easy to get sucked into someone else's stuff that way, because if there's anything there and you're not really clear about where you're at and that kind of thing, then you can, then you can get sucked down your own hole, and then they're like, whoa, I was right. Yeah, it's weird. So, Laud says, it feels like an amazing privilege to be given a gift from the fairies. It feels like a really good thing to me. Yeah, seems like a good thing to me, too. Chill Baby says, should people put up psychic boundaries for this? Will the reader leave their residual energy and impressions behind in your field? I think I answered that question when I was going through it, so I won't worry about that, because, like I said, if you don't want them reading you, you shouldn't get a reading. And they could leave something in your field, so you could just wash your hands, ground yourself. You can bring a stone, like a black stone, obsidian, or smoky quartz, or black spinel, or black tourmaline, and have it in your pocket. So then any negative energy they might accidentally spill over to you would be rejected automatically, and then you'd have less stuff to clean up. But really, whenever you're encountering any other person, there's always a risk of that kind of exchange of energy. That's why boundaries are so important. Mary says, I like the blue scarf you were wearing, Siofra. Thank you. I'm wearing it for my brain, to protect my brain at the moment. Jill Baby says, just FYI, I do my own readings for myself. Well, good. Dublin says, in order of the something, I remember it's been years. Order of the something? Too many oaths and weird ones. Did I miss something up here?
No.
Okay.
This was referring to back to the whole OTO thing, but I have to say none of the OTO's oaths that I have taken have been particularly weird. The majority of them is just to not disclose what you've just learned from that degree. And other than that, I really can't say more about it, but that's the majority of it, is not to disclose what you've learned, disclose symbology or anything being used.
Yeah, he says, I never liked Alistair. He was confused, in my opinion.
Well, that's another whole long discussion, but...
So Jonathan says, Mixed Diva, Ian and Siofra can tell you better than me the power of Jupiter. It's all about wealth and success. I'm saying you have a month to make a talisman to harness that energy for your life. Eddie says, so true, the Fae give perfect gifts, too. My first Hagstone was given to me by the Fae near my home. Never had anything bad happen for taking it. There's a lot of false fear around interacting with the Fae. Yeah, and actually I read an article. I read an article not long ago about that, and they were talking about, when did this happen and why? Because witches have always had a relationship with the Fae, and it's always been a positive one. It's never been negative.
I blame it on media mostly.
Yeah.
Things that come through the media.
So Jonathan says Freighter Ian. Dublin at Jonathan thumbs up. Luna says, hey all, how are you doing and did miss much? Well, you missed 48 minutes, so I don't know how much that was as far as what we talked about, but you'll get to watch it later, so I guess you'll find out. And yeah, we're just a little bit subdued. Why, I'm wearing a helmet of silk on my head. Eddie says, it's a flat, perfect triangle with the hole in the middle. It looks exactly like the one I used to picture in my mind before I found a hagstone. Cool. Dublin says, well, I had a tarot reading when I was 17 years, and that was enough, thank you. Laugh out loud. I've had a couple of tarot readings, and most of them have not been very accurate. I do better when I do my own, when I was doing tarot. So, Angela says, I love reading my own cards. It's so much fun. I have a big collection of decks for self-reading. Jonathan says, hi, Luna. We figured out the nature of the universe. It's a pity you missed it. And he says, laugh out loud. Luna says, hey, Jonathan, happy birthday. Is it Jonathan's birthday? Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Dublin says that Siofra, yes. Adam says, I don't understand how a planet is responsible for a certain type of archetype energy. For example, can you explain what creates this attraction, central type of energy in Venus, and what exactly makes this different type of energy archetype for different planets? I cannot explain it. I just know that it's true. It's the nature of them. That's what they have. That's what they are. That's how we interact with them, and that's their influence. Maybe they have other jobs that I don't know about. Jonathan said, Lovey. Dublin says at Siofra, I like you, but I don't know why. Well, that's okay. We don't have to have concrete reasons, do we, to like people? Usually we have pretty concrete reasons why we don't like them, but we don't always have concrete reasons why we do. 5D Pixie says, hello, Siofra, you look lovely, thank you. Jonathan says, Dublin, it's because she is honest. Well, thank you very much, because that's one of the things I definitely try to be. Eddie says, at Adam, I think it's kind of like different archetypes of people. Different people will experience sensuality in a different way. Same with sadness, anger, etc. Energy archetypes are similar to this. And Dublin says that Jonathan probably. Robin Kaler says, I've had positive results with my dragon, but it goes slow, a couple of months. I'm not sure why, but I'm just saying we shouldn't fear anything we work with. Well, if we're afraid of it, we probably shouldn't work with it, so I agree. Violet says, happy birthday. Dublin says, I don't read anymore, just a personal choice. Yeah, I don't either at this point. It's just, depends on what phase you're in and what's happening. Mixed Diva says, happy birthday. Lod says, what would be the next step in connecting with the Fae after being given a gift? It would be lovely to build on the connection. Well, I would think giving them something in return, They seem to like honey, milk, rice, that kind of stuff. You can put it in a bowl and stick it out for them, or you can put some stones out there that are colorful because they like things that are colorful and shiny. You could plant something there if there's nothing planted there already, or if it's a good place to plant something. You can put a little statue, something that they might like. I have some little fairy statues that my granddaughter gave me, and I have them in front of my garden. And I don't know. That's what I would do. So Mixed Diva says, Siofra, I like you as well, but I do know why. Okay, good. Dublin says, yeah, I'm struggling. Trying to figure out why you like me. Well, I like me, so that's good. It's always good to be around people that are positive as far as it goes. So, yeah, we've had sort of a weird week around here as far as strange occurrences. Like, my daughter had to call an ambulance for some stranger that was bleeding on her driveway in front of her car, and just sort of odd, unexpected things.
One of those weird weeks.
Yeah, it's been a weird week for that kind of stuff. And then my granddaughter has met witnessed a few strange people in our neighborhood. We finally figured out who the people were last night. She was like very upset and worried about it. And it's like, they're down the middle of the street and they got flashlights and they're talking about looking at people's houses. I don't know what they're up to. And just before I went to sleep, I realized that they were the neighborhood watch. And so I told her that this morning. She went like, oh, that makes sense. Because why would you walk down the middle of the street with a flashlight if you're going to break into people's houses? It doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, trying to pay attention. So Jonathan says, thank you guys. Thank you, Luna. My birthday on Maybon in winter is my favorite season. I'm lucky. Yay!
Yay.
And he has a 4-leaf clover. Robin says, I like you because you're brave. Well, thank you. I'm going to get shy now.
Well, hey, you did the thing to dare, so.
I did. I did do that.
Let's face it, it actually takes a certain amount of bravery to go through on a magical path, mostly because of your own built-in fears and things that need to be conquered.
Well, having to face all the stuff from the past to be able to work through it.
It really is a shift.
So Mixed Diva says, it's an intense week. I had a very intense dream the other night. I mean, most of my dreams are bizarre and intense, but this one was very more so. Moonfire Dawn says, you are a gift. Thank you. They're going to get me, aren't they? Dublin says at Siofra, there you go. Okay. Yep, it's just been a weird energy out there. But I like that the sun is coming back. I really like the sun. I like all the seasons, so each one's got something special. That's why I put the thing about the northern lights in the last video, because, they happen, although they happen mostly during the summer, you can't see them in the north because it's like light all the time. So we saw them mostly in the winter, so I associate them with that. Lod says, thanks, Siofra. I did put a little dish of porridge with honey in the garden afterwards. Glad to know I was on the right track. Yep. Mixed Eva says, oops, typos in my message.
Thank you, Moonfire Dawn.
Ian, too. Okay. Mary says, I love your sense of humor. Well, I like being happy sometimes. And, I was thinking about this the other day. Joy is a choice. It's actually a choice that we have to make on a daily basis to discover something to be joyful about. And it is. It's definitely a choice. So I try to find joyful things. Not that I ignore reality for sure, because I believe in facing that head on. But somebody was saying something about some people were born with happiness in their hearts, and other people were born with sadness. And it was a show I was watching, and she declared she was born with sadness. And I thought, I'm one of the opposites, even with all the stuff that happens to me. I definitely, yeah. I'm uncharacteristically optimistic. All evidence to the contrary. They can't seem to break me, so it's not a challenge, by the way. Not challenging the universe. Destiny says, at Lod, I would research what kind of fae might be in your area, learn about them, give them offerings, often, especially if you want a relationship, pay attention. They seem to already notice you. Absolutely. Adam says, can you recommend me the best books for beginners on energy work?
Again, that's a pretty broad subject.
Because
energy
there's
work.
Reiki, there is regular energy work that doesn't necessarily have a name, there's chakra work, there's breath work, which would work with your energy, there's, everything you do is going to work with your energies one way or another, but to be able to, give energy to someone else, becoming aware of your own energy and your own body is a good step to start with that. Moonfire says, the magic keeps us going. Yeah, that's true. Jonathan says, it is a shift. The TikTok people are clumsy about it, but reality shifting is a thing, and Siofra is good at explaining how to do it. Siofra, talking about boundaries again. I'm always talking about boundaries because they are so important. I was talking to my granddaughter about boundaries this morning because she's going through some pretty serious health issues, and yet she's still being dragged around all over town to help other people. And I gave her quite the lecture this morning on making sure she took care of herself as well and recognized that she is also important. And it's not like if she doesn't take care of herself, no one else is going to. Which is unfortunate, but yeah. Robin says, I'd love to send a monetary gift, but I just gave it to my starving student granddaughter. I just wanted to tell you why. Well, hey, you can always decide to become a member for $5 a month. And then you get special privileges. We don't have any members yet, but, I'm looking forward to that at some point. Emmy Love says, the neighborhood I moved into has a lot of anger. I decided to invite the fae back. My sunflowers and sweet peas have sprouted for the garden. My landlady said I could plant. A tiny mushroom grew on it. Well, that sounds cute. Mary says, I feel like Capricorns are good at going through stuff with a good attitude. Well, some of us, there's only, there's really not just 12 personalities in the world, or 24, positive and negative.
No, but there's a certain amount about the Capricorn that includes that
stick-to-itiveness, determination,
and drive, and
not letting anything get in your way.
Forward, yeah.
I don't care how tall that mountain is.
A goat.
Yeah, I don't care how tall that mountain is.
Look at some of these goats climbing mountains.
God, I love those ibexes. They are so gorgeous to look at.
Straight up a wall.
I know. They are amazing. Anyway, so Moonfire says, all is energy and frequency. This is true. Emily Love says, the moon in one of my pots and started dying fast with the sun. I plucked it. Oh, the mushroom. Is that the mushroom that was in your pot? Yes, a tiny mushroom grew on the moon in one of my pots. Yes. Joy says there's therapeutic touch, pranic healing, healing touch. Yes, and Reiki, and all sorts of different kinds of things. Robin says Scott Cunningham, earth, air, fire, and water is a good start for energy knowledge. Actually, I think I have his Earth Power book right here. Um, yeah, he's got some good stuff in there. Boundaries are important and necessary, says Mixed Diva. Yes. Adam says, well, I mean that will best teach the basics, for example, like sensing energy and stuff like that. Practice. Experimentation. Read. See what pulls you. Play with rocks. I'm doing experiments with my granddaughter with stones. I put a stone in her hand and see what happens. She has varying reactions, which is kind of cool. They're always different. Lod says, thank you so much, Destiny Haynes, for that advice. It's really helpful. Would be great to explore this further. Destiny says, of course, good luck in your adventures. Chill Baby says, for me, joy is a choice, but it also takes practice to recover if it has been squashed by other emotions. It will get easier and stronger over time. It has taught me to trust and be patient with myself. Awesome. Definitely. We have healing we can do. Emmy Love says, yes, grew on the Gull Moon. I took it as a gift. It had excellent timing.
It's supposed to be full moon, not gull.
Oh, I was going to say,
Yeah.
Gull Moon, huh? I was wondering what kind of a moon the Gull Moon was, because they name everything.
F is right there by G, so
Yeah.
that one seems pretty.
Moonfire says, my aunt lives in Colorado. I saw the mountain goats. Oh, and we saw some mountain sheep when we were in Central Oregon. Those guys have got the most amazing hearing. I mean, they were like miles away, and we were watching them through our binoculars, and Ian would cough, and their ears would go straight at us and looking right in our direction. It's just like, whoa, those guys are something else. So Mary says, yay for sweet peas and sunflowers. Emmy Love, I just planted mine yesterday. I'm excited for them to come up. I'm hoping that the sunflowers that we planted on top of the eggs when we did the ritual for Ukraine will actually come. But I have more seeds, so I'm going to plant some of them. I went for the short ones, because I don't have that big of a garden. So I figure things between 4 and 6 feet and not for the 12-foot tall ones. Told about overwhelm our space. Yes, Emmy Love says, full moon in Bath, wet fingers. Jonathan says, I'm laughing out loud right now, but only because I understand that no matter how boring it is, boundaries are so important. Let that be our takeaway. Boundaries are important. Well, if you haven't defined yourself, you don't know where you start and where you end.
Yep.
And where other things begin. How can you tell what an other is if you don't know what you are, right?
Well, that's
Whole different ballgame.
a whole nother entire field.
Moondog Witch says, I love moonflowers. The flowers open up at night. We have a lot of those around here. Robin says, question. I'm in stage 5 kidney failure, age 68, and I'd love some hints on how to ask my guides to use their energy as I don't have it anymore. I'm sorry to hear that. Probably means you're on dialysis, huh? And ask, I guess. I mean, just put it out there. I mean, I had the fairies come one night and try and help heal my hand when I had shingles. So, sometimes it happens. You just never know for sure exactly when it might take place. But
yeah.
Dublin says, whole nother topic. Amen. Mary says, I love boundaries.
I might add something on that a little bit. To really trying to get a hold of your guides, put some feeling with it.
And depending on how you work, you could do art to generate feelings, words, music, sound.
Yeah, just get some feeling, some emotion with it. Get some power. Get something behind your asking your guides so that there's enough energy there's enough feeling there that they pay attention, get their attention and ask. That would be my approach at this point until you can go into getting Reiki and stuff, but
Yeah, if you find a Reiki practitioner, that might be a good idea.
yeah,
Because they are in touch with the specific angels that are involved in the Reiki thing. And it's a very non-invasive and healing modality.
yeah, Reiki comes from an external source, not from an internal energy source. So um, if you make a connection to that, and you have that connection to that external healing energy, which you can bring through.
So Adam says, I'm so sorry to hear that, Robin, but I know someone who can channel A.A. Raphael that can do energy field scans for you if you want that person's contact. And I think that's outside of the scope of our YouTube channel because we're not supposed to encourage that kind of activity. Robin says, I'm still able to visualize well. Thanks, Ian. Good point. Moonfire Dawn says, Robin, check out Lee Carroll and Cryon. He makes some serious spirit walkthroughs easy. Luna says Reiki is amazing. Yeah, and if you find a Reiki practitioner can do long distance kind of stuff as well.
Though I have to
Moonfire Dawn says his meditations get me in quick. That would be Lee Carroll and Cryon. Yeah.
I once tried Reiki on a cancer patient, and it was just like dumping it into the ocean. It just like nothing. Normally you can sense something happening when you're doing Reiki on somebody and something's happening and the energy is moving into them, but this guy would just take all of it just like a black hole and do him no good whatsoever.
So Robin says, yes, Reiki is great. Oh, funny, I channel Raphael. Mixed Diva says that, Robin, I'm sorry to hear that. When I had COVID through my long chronic illness, I know my guides helped because I asked and was very emotional. They left me feather messages for me to confirm. Dublin says, Yeah, well, see, that's one of the things about life. It's limited as far as the physical is concerned. And, figuring out when to intervene, how to intervene, when to accept, whether one should accept, there's a lot of things involved in that. Dublin says, but you can help transition a cancer patient. It's difficult. Well, he waited so long to decide to get a last-ditch effort that he didn't stay with it. Jonathan says, Robin, that's rough. Whoever your higher entities are, whether you know them now or not, reach out to them or reach out to the universe. Just try chat with whoever the archetype for you is. I had to move my finger because it went up. Luna says, I'm just getting to know A.A. Raphael. The amount of synchronicities I've had regarding him all week has been crazy. Moonfire says, I have been using my selenite wand to shrink my tumors. That's interesting. I've used selenite for reducing inflammation in a lot of parts of my body, and I know it's good for that, so that's another potential use. That would make sense, because tumors is kind of like an inflammation. Robin says, thanks everyone, but ask your questions. Don't make this about me. I'm hanging in. I love Siofra. I can lay there and hear a friend. Okay. Queen of Cups says, just logged in. Hello, beautiful people. Hi, Queen of Cups. Welcome to our little alcove. Dublin says, the problem with cancer patients is the drugs they give them to ease the pain. Well, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Yeah. I mean, for some it works, for some it doesn't. It's like, there's no one right answer for that. It's like what works for one person may kill another or help them. It just all depends. Robin says, Bloodstone works great for pain, inflammation too. Have you tried it with that specifically? I know I've worked with the selenite, but I don't think I've tried Bloodstone for inflammation.
I have read that though.
Yeah, Moonfire says, one on my belly grows fast, so the wand has made it crispy and scabby. The other one is almost flat. There's another thing that's good for tumors, and that is Edgar Casey used to recommend doing castor oil packs on like kidney stones and bladder stones and tumorous growths and things like that. So you can look that up and see if that's something you want to do. It's external, so it doesn't bother your system. So I figure it's one of those things that it can't hurt you, and if it helps, it's fantastic. It also works on ovarian cysts and things. I've heard people use them for that. Dublin says, no, I'm not saying that. Well, yeah, I was just saying that as a general thing. I'm saying sometimes the drugs they give make it difficult to help people transition. Yeah, it really just depends. We have a hospice here that is fairly experienced with helping people transition. Moonfire Dawn says, I read Edgar, should try that. Yeah, I'm sure you can probably look that up pretty easily on Google and find the information. Paul Hill says, the best thing about you, honest, frank, and great energy, an amazing laugh. Well, thank you, Mr. Paul Hill.
I'll second that.
Yes, that's one of the things Ian likes to make me laugh, and he's got such a quirky sense of humor. He would say such off the wall kind of stuff, and I would just absolutely go nuts. Robin says, yes, I had a breast cancer tumor, and the bloodstone was in my pocket during surgery, and I rubbed it on the area as well. But my grandmother's stone is bloodstone, so that may be a help. She was a witch. Okay, so that could be an energized stone already charged up for the purpose. Queen of Cups says, I have a wonderful story when my son had just had a cardiac surgery, age 3. 2 days after surgery, we were in a side room. He started talking to someone. He said his name is Raphael. So he had a visitor. That's awesome. Dublin says, and as well am I at Siofra. Thank you. Jonathan says, Robin, thank you for bringing up the subject. Siofra, Ian, on the path, how sophisticated do you need to be to start attempting healing with magic? Well, that was probably the first kind of thing that I did.
Yeah, that's one of the best ways to get started is healing.
Yeah, it's I mean, for me it was instinctive. That was one of the first things that people noticed about me when they were hurting, and I would know where they were hurting, and I would touch where they were hurting, and then they would feel better. And one of the only positive thing my father ever said to me was that I had magic hands. And then I ended up becoming a massage therapist and a psychic healer first for 16 years before I went to school and became a massage therapist. So you don't have to know anything about magic really to do healing necessarily. There's a lot of healers out there that aren't witches or pagans or anything of that kind. So basically, it's sort of an instinctive sharing of energy to try and comfort someone, and sometimes that energy alone is enough to sort of lift up their spirits and engage the body in its own healing processes. It's like you're trying to turn on the body's natural defenses and its ability to heal itself, because life wants to keep going in the right direction on an instinctual level. So when we do healing with magic, we like get a group of people together, cast a circle, raise the energy, send the healing energy directly to an individual, use the healing chant that I have up to help with that, and I do that on myself a lot. And it's a good way to focus the energy on yourself. So, yeah. Moonfire Dawn says, I third that, Ian. Moondog Witch says, a sense of humor is good medicine. Moonfire Dawn says, my mom has some issues and is Christian, so I upset her when I mention energy work. Well, Jesus did energy work.
Yeah, I don't know why that should freak out people in particular, because, oh well. It does, which I know. I know that it does. Ran into plenty of that myself.
Queen of Cups says, if we're talking anti-inflammatory issues, topical comfrey and witch hazel internal. Yeah, comfrey is really great for bruising and swelling. I've soaked my feet in that from time to time. Mary says, oh, my dog had a swollen leg this morning. I'll put some selenite on her. Yeah, let's know how it goes. Or you can get a piece of comfrey leaf and wrap it around her leg and see how long she'll let you keep it there. Mixed Diva says, I had Reiki done once. The person doing it felt things, etc., but I didn't. Well, sometimes it's because blockages keep you from sensing certain things. So it's not necessarily that nothing was happening. It could just be that your ability to sense that particular thing was blocked for one reason or another.
Yeah, different types of barriers and things can come up. Sometimes the energy can just be delayed in doing its job. I'm not sure how the delaying happens, but I have that happen to a lot of the stuff that I did. Is it has a big delay before it materializes down and does something.
Dublin says, here's the problem with people in hospice, many different beliefs and sometimes resistances. Well, yes, I actually went through the training to become a volunteer for hospice locally, and I went to the first volunteer appreciation meeting, and the dinner that they served us was cordon bleu chicken. So it has pork, cheese, chicken. They had some cheese-covered potato dish. The only thing a vegetarian of any kind could eat would have been the salad, but even that had stuff in it that probably some vegetarians couldn't eat. Their lack of awareness of the differences in people was astonishing and telling in and of itself. And then the guy who was doing the speech for the volunteers was quoting from the Bible. He's a local doctor. He used to be my doctor, not anymore. And it was like sitting in a church having a sermon. And I thought, these people really don't realize how incredibly obnoxious and closed-minded they're being. They're like so completely oblivious to it. And to top it all off, the woman sitting next to me who I didn't know shows me her very proud picture of her son who has just shot a bear and shows me the dead bear. And I'm like, this is not a good environment for me. I need to get the hell out of here. So I won the door prize and left and never went back. Because I thought, I could try and spend time to try and point this out to them and so forth. I actually did volunteer for a while, but only for people who were non-Christian and wanted someone who wasn't a Christian in their house. And so I did do that for a bit. But, yeah, that's a problem. I agree. Queen of Cups says, internally, arnica heals very quickly. I did a trial with surgeons I worked with. Results so outstanding, they now unofficially recommend to patients. Yeah, arnica is good for a lot of stuff. Yeah. Robin says, yes, psychic healing is the easy start. Chill Baby says, are angels only from the Abrahamic religions? I've only heard people name angels from the Bible who are all male, which makes me feel cautious. Is there another group of beings that are only one gender? Well, really, they're not any gender at all. That's kind of a misnomer to start with because they don't have a body, so why would they have a gender? That's kind of a thing we're pushing onto them.
Yeah, but...
angels are in every culture.
Well, and if I might add to that, they were listed originally in the Christian Bible stuff as male and female, the Elohim. But King James and all the patriarchs after that took out references to all the women and the female names among angels and things like that. So they turned them all male. So original documents, my understanding is they were the Elohim. They were created male and female. And that's what happened.
And in my experience, angels are not specific to Christianity. It's just the Christianity sort of co-opted them and turned them into their own special little, police force or whatever. But angels are in every culture, beings that look just like them and sound just like them. So I stay away from the well-known Christian angelic archangel names and so forth because I figure the energy associated with them is kind of collected at this point. But when I see an angel outside, I'm not worried about where it's from or anything like that. They're just higher beings and they exist on a different plane and they can help to a certain extent. Most of the ones I've met in a healing crisis are not helpful because a lot of it they consider human has to decide how to deal with it. And they're just sort of like watchers and some kind of emotional support, but not necessarily direct action. But then sometimes they do weird stuff, and they do some direct action. Yeah. So Dublin says that Robin, is that sarcasm? Because psychic healing isn't easy at all. Depends on guessing if you're gifted, right? Mixed Diva says, oh, I bet things were happening, but I think I was very blocked at the time. The person even told me so. Jonathan says, would you consider doing a video on how a baby witch would start to try to heal our neighbors? Maybe just for easing pain or for comfort. I would like to do that. Not a bad idea. Send me a note and remind me. So, Dublin says, ew, or iwi. Robin says, Dublin, well, it was easy for me. Maybe something I find hard will be easy for you. Just reach out and try until you find where your path takes you. Dublin says, wow. Okay. Queen of Cups says, my son attends a hospice, trying to get them to work more holistically. We now have therapy dogs. The kids love it. Well, actually, here, yeah, we have had therapy dogs for a while. That's one of the nicer versions of that. Moonfire says, I tried to draw the connection with Christ, Ian. The Harlequin Dane says, I'm a plant-based eater. I know how you feel. Dublin says that, Robin, I hear you. Jonathan says, what's happening in the chat right now is an empathetic response to suffering. Yep, it's actually not a bad observation. And Dublin says that Moonfire, what? And that Jonathan, thumbs up. Gary says, thank you, good show, peace and love to you, Loretta and Gary. Oh, we still have 10 minutes, so bye. Moonfire Dawn says, when they come from the sky, then it's gods, now we call them aliens? I have no idea. Robin says, an example, I stood in line at drugstore and saw the man in front of me had a black lung. Then the pharmacist asked him how the chemo was going. Just keep your spiritual eyes open. Well, yeah, I mean, everyone has to sort of make their own decision when it comes to that. Moonfire Dawn says, Dublin, I tried to make Mom realize Jesus might as well have been Merlin. He used magic. Yeah, and it's a weird, contradiction that they don't seem to be able, some of them don't seem to be able to recognize. But yeah. Queen of Cups says, yes, I used to teach Christianity. God and angels in the original Hebrew are non-gender. It's only modern translations that added gender and only named angels and demons are male. Obviously, I left the church. Congratulations. Sorry. That's my personal thing. Dublin says at Moonfire, okay, LLL. Well, you know, I mean, everybody is different. That's just the way it is. And that's one of the things we try to make sure that, you know, it's like, it's a non-judgmental environment. Jonathan says, we're getting near the end. Do you guys also get ads from Gaia on Siofra's videos? Have a great week, friends. Well, Gaia apparently loves to put their ads on my videos. Whether I would ever watch it or not is a different question. They think I'm a real woo-woo, so, you know, yay them, I guess. Siofra, got you. Okay.
All right.
So, we've got a few minutes left. Robin says, yes, Moses used a staff to make the snake. Witches use a stang or wand. Or a staff. I have a staff, too. I have also stangs and wands. I like all the different sizes. What can I say? I don't want to leave anybody out, you know. It's like it wants to come with me. I'm going to have to let it come with me. Mixed Diva says that Jonathan, no, because I have an ad blocker. Oh, good for you. Chill Baby says, thank you for those answers about angels. Such great points and info I didn't know. And I am hard to please, like many people I know. I still find that my leftover scars from a church upbringing pop up. I left Christianity too. Yeah, and it's one of those things, trying to replace the subconscious stuff with real information that you are in favor of and want to embrace.
Well, it's
like
fear-based religion.
It takes a while to get that done. Mixed Diva says, oh, Kaylee says, yes, I have Jonathan. I watched some of their stuff too. Chill Baby says, hallelujah. Mixed Diva says, Siofra, any recent encounters with the Fae besides the smell? That was the first time I've smelled them in a while, so I considered that was a real positive thing. I've been getting some weird shadow thing going on last night, so I had to, like, stop things from happening because I wasn't feeling comfortable with delving into that. How do you feel about banishing spells and what possible repercussions from doing one? Now, are we talking about banishing people, banishing
Who
spirits,
or what? Yeah.
banishing energy? And give me a little bit more on that. Queen of Cups says, may I ask how you guys met? You're both delightful. Thank you for this chat. We met at a pagan potluck, dessert potluck. That's how we met. We should do a video just on how we met so we can say, go watch the video on how we met. Because people want to know. So
it makes for a little bit of a story.
It is a story. So, and it's a fun story. And it was one of those cool things. I knew right away you were the one. So Queen of Cups, oh, we already did that. Dublin says, well, a lot of people hate Christians. I know that. Well, I don't hate Christians. I hate Christianity. And what people have done with it, let's say.
Yeah.
I don't, people's belief systems are whatever can get them through. If they make them a better person and they allow them to walk a path of integrity in life, I don't care what they believe in. I care how they act. And so, if they act like an asshole, I don't like them. It's simple as that. I don't care what religion they are, whether they're mine or someone else's or whatever it may be. To me, actions speak louder than words, and people can say they believe anything. And the proof is in the pudding, right? And whatever the pudding is, I don't know. Moonfire says, what I was saying about aliens versus gods is when aliens came and taught science and the art, we called them gods. Now anything unfamiliar, I lost that, we call aliens. Yeah, I have no clue. Because, we think a lot of things and say a lot of things. Mixed Diva says, maybe they've been busy with that spring coming here. What with spring coming? So Harlequin Dane said, a person, really bad person.
Banishing a person.
Oh, banishing a person. Okay, so good question. And I've done a couple of things like that. I always have a little bit of concern. Like, okay, my daughter had this guy living across the street from her, and she's got a very small street. It's like a dead end, so there's nowhere to go, right? And he was crazy. He was losing his mind. He was hallucinating. He was paranoid. He was armed. He thought people were after him. He saw things on his video camera that weren't there. He actually assaulted some people in the middle of the street and hit him in the head with a gun and knocked him unconscious for a brief period of time. And so it seemed like a threat, something that we needed to like stop from happening. And I worried about just doing a straight-on banishing, getting rid of him kind of thing, because then I'm just pushing him on someone else to solve a problem. So I tried to feel it through and decide, okay, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to do a protection thing to protect my daughter's property and her stuff. So we went over there, and I broke out all kinds of things. We did the mirrors facing outward on the inside of the walls. We did a Medusa on the door facing outward from inside, to put out that energy. We did a salt and pepper wall of energy on the street, in front of the houses, her house, her neighbor's house, and then her former in-laws' houses, to make sure, to sort of put up an energetic barrier there. And I left it up to the universe to decide what was going to happen. The very next morning, after we did this, he put up an 8-foot tall fence. And so he walled himself in, which was very interesting and very impressive to my granddaughter. She's just like, whoa, that was amazing. And I'm like, yeah, that was kind of a surprise. And within the month, he moved out. And so it worked. So that one was actually pretty quick. And then I had a client whose her daughter and her husband moved in and then never left and didn't seem to be inclined to leave. And so I made some hot foot powder, which is a hoodoo thing, and sprinkled it in. But I told her it was probably going to take time because this had been going on for over 4 years. So it's not like very quick. And they are now out, but it took that plus human intervention, going to court and and all this other stuff, and standing up for herself and setting boundaries. So there was a lot of lessons that went on in that. So you have to think it through and decide what it is. Sometimes people will just put someone's name in a ice cube and stick it in the freezer or in a thing of water and freeze it to like stop them from coming at you. But since I don't know your personal circumstances, that's probably about all I can actually say on that. So, V7 says, "Ooh, I caught alive." Yeah, just before we're done. I'm so sorry. Come earlier next time. And Queen of Cups says, "Pagan potluck. Oh, idea of the day. It's so hard to find a partner with similar beliefs." Yeah, that's for sure. Oops, I messed up in here. Got the aliens, got the Harlequin, got the Christians. Enjoy your chats, learn a lot. Yeah, Christians love persecution. Okay, I think I caught up now. Moonfire retracted. Dublin said Siofra. You corrected the spelling. I figured that. I'm an a-hole sometimes. Well, all of us have our bad days, and it depends. Sometimes people deserve your a-hole face because it's a boundary issue, and sometimes that's all they're going to get. John D says, or GD John says, "Have you ever seen a Pukwudgie Faye?" And it's too late for me to even think to answering that question, and I don't know. Mixed Diva says, "I don't like Christianity too. I always wonder how one can you justify supporting a religion organization that has committed horrendous monstrosities and continues to?" Yes. Queen of Cups says, "Pagan potluck. Oh, idea of the day." Ian says, "Almost over. Sorry, but glad you made it." Dublin says, "Crazy losing his mind, assaulting people sounds like where I live." Mary says, "Siofra, so woo-woo." Not really. Mary says, "I." Luna says, "Thanks all. Blessings for the week ahead." Moonfire says, "I do love woo." God, this thing is just going all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I keep going. My finger keeps making things go. All right. And V7 said, "Thanks, Ian." Dublin says at Moonfire, "Laugh out loud." Robin says, "We had bad neighbors and I had salt and pepper, and I used salt and pepper and sent them to a place that would be better for them. They moved in 3 months." Yeah, not a bad idea too. Putting that out to the universe for the good of all. My hand just did something weird. Need a Libra for justice. The Harlequin Dane says, "Thank you." Aaron Jones says, "I know what the salt does, but what does the pepper do?" It's very irritating to the nose and the face and the energy, and it just says, it's like,
yep. Get out of here energy is what that's for, basically. Yep.
So anyway, we're now going over, so what do you study from? Everything in the universe that I can get my hands on? Mixed Diva says, "Thank you as always. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and be safe." How many times have I thrown salt? Irene says, "Hi, by the way." Hi, Irene. I'm so sorry you came in right at the end of the show because we only go an hour and a half, and we start at 2 p.m. Pacific time, whatever daylight is, and what have you. So thank you guys. You kept me going. That was fun. It always is. So we'll talk to you next week, and send me any questions you might have to my email at shiversmagicalcove@gmail.com, or hit me up on Facebook and send me a friend's request. Thank you. Bye.